actually want to ask you to talk a little bit more about the report. So you've referenced this report. Can you talk a little bit more about the report? When is it coming out? Why was a report kind of the deliverable when folks were kind of conceiving of what this project would look like? And then what are some of the things that the report includes?
For a report has been one of the deliverables. We wanted to make sure that as much as possible, this work could be tribally led. And so hosting the symposium was the first step because um, it was something I think that, honors a lot of our cultural practices and our ways of just we're opening this conversation. We want people to discuss, uh, come together and discuss what are some of the pieces of the study that we've found, what are some of the findings. And we don't want to have to rely on the written word. Uh, like Anne mentioned, there was budgetary constraints, there was timeline constraints, and so that was first and foremost, I think, our one of our biggest goals was to host that. And second, the report will be released um, within the next couple of months. I don't know when it's going to be released. I would just say the report will be released soon, and that was important to us uh, because it's something that people don't take lightly, and I think it's also we've had a lot of people who have been interested in our work, and so in order for us to be able to show our process and what in our findings for others to think about how they might reckon with the origins of the land grant institution where they work, we wanted to have something that was written in.
Yeah, I just want to kind of add to what Misty said. Like, even before, when we were like writing letters of interest, right, to try to get into the Melon project, there was a question of, what would the deliverables be, right? And I think that at that time, our thought process was that um, our audience was university administrators because we were really pushing for change. And it was a way of using colonizer tools against them, right? We went into the archives. Um, they kept really good records of what they did to us, of what they did to our people, right? Like they were proud of it or something, right? Like everything is so well documented and preserved that everything we got was like barely scraping the surface of what is in the archives, And so we always say, who knows what's really down there, because of all we spent 6 months in the archives, and what we found was like just in a few collections, right? We didn't even go through the vast majority of what exists in the archives. But we knew that in order for our project to be taken seriously within the institution, it had to do two things, right? It had to kind of um, use the the prescribed like modes of research. So while we wanted to center Indigenous voices, tribal voices, by inviting tribes through MIAC to participate in this process, we also knew that we were going to have to look into this quantitatively too, right? And so that's where the Cura folks came in with their economic analyses, where Audrianna's capstone team came in furthering that research, because they were able to, there was Indigenous people on both of those teams, and they were able to look at the quantitative process through an Indigenous lens and still present it to the university in their language, right? So when we're presenting it to tribes, I think we present it a lot differently. But the paper specifically is to try to get to those administrators, right? And to get them to hear our voices.
And that's not like something that we is explicitly stated in the report either. All of those those challenges, right, for other people to understand this issue in a way that makes most sense to them, you know. And although we shouldn't have to do that, it's something that we have to do, like Anne had mentioned. And I also really want to take a moment to highlight, you know, all of that behind the scenes work that took place. Anne mentioned the emotional kind of toll that it took on us as researchers, and some of that behind the scenes work that we did as a core team, with bringing different spiritual advisors in. And I don't know if Misty wants to talk a little bit about that, because the way she speaks about it is just really, it's really great, about that circle closing. So